To remain updated with the latest business news, click on the bell icon.
Presented by eBix Cash. हर खुशी के लिए काफी है.
Hello and welcome. You're with us here on Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Here are the headlines. Sensex sees biggest single-day rise in 1 year. Rallies over 1,700 points. Nifty ends above 17,350 on reports of easing Ukraine crisis. Auto, IT, bank, metal stocks rally. Oil falls on profit-taking. All eyes on Ukraine crisis as Russia pulls back some troops from the border. Brent and WTI up over 50% year-on-year so far. Analysts expect crude to touch $100 very soon. It's a big Business Today TV exclusive. IDBI Bank disinvestment process to begin next month. Expression of interest likely within 3 weeks. SEBI bats for separation of chairman and MD and CEO roles but keeps the provision voluntary for listed companies. Provision to be applicable from April 1st for top 500 companies. Big revelation in the ABG shipyard mega scam case. CBI says all accused are in India. Issues lookout notices, all to be summoned soon. A day after recording the biggest crash in 10 months, the markets made a strong comeback. Sensex sees biggest single-day rise in 1 year, rallies 1,736 points to climb back to 58,000. Nifty reclaimed 17,350 as the market rebounds. Stocks rallied on a report that some Russian troops in military districts adjacent to Ukraine are returning to their bases after completing drills. A move that could de-escalate frictions between Moscow and the West. A massive pullback rally led by autos, banks, IT and FMCG recovered almost all losses sustained yesterday. All sectors were well in the green. Nifty Auto was at the top of the charts, gaining over 4%. Closely followed by Nifty PSU Bank, Nifty Media, Banking Realty among some of the top gainers sectorally. 48 out of 50 stocks closed with a positive bias, with Tata Motors leading the surge. Bajaj Finance, Eicher Motors, Shree Cement and Hero Moto were among the top gainers today. As the Sensex posted its biggest gain in 1 year, investors turned richer by 5.4 lakh crore rupees. Gaurang Shah joining us for more on this. Gaurang, what a seesaw, and I'm tempted to ask because every single time we see volatility or we see a sharp drop, we see that bounce following suit. Is this enough then for investors to really be on guard? Because with a bounce back like this, everyone's going to assume things are going to be hunky-dory.
Well, thank you, Abha, and it's good to be on your show. So after seeing the sea of red yesterday, it was good to see the green ticks across the board. And the momentum started since the beginning of the day. We lost some ground, but we held out our head above the water. And as the news flows came in, the momentum geared upwards. So looks like, and I hope that wisdom prevails upon the leaders of the respective country, and there is no aggressive move on either side. So the market did give a thumbs up, and as you were mentioning a while back, that Russia pulling back the troops from the drill also smoothened the sentiments to a great extent. It was not that the diplomatic door was closed completely. There is still possibility of that working out. And if that does, then I think not only will the markets in our side, but globally will breathe a sign of relief. But along with that, Abha, I think energy prices, especially Brent and NYMEX, could see some kind of a downtick because the uptick was because of this reason. And now, if there is de-escalation, then I think crude oil should also subside to a lower level. And that's good for our economy. I think we had a weaker rupee against the dollar and a boil in the crude oil prices. Both of them going by our side is good news for the economy. And let's hope that there is not much negativity as far as the geopolitical situation is concerned.
So talking about crude, Gaurang, let's get an outlook from you as well. We were first looking at prices like 100. We're still seeing a 50% gain if you take a look at the year-on-year number, but quite a bit of profit booking that's set in today. What's the outlook, given the cooling of geopolitics, but however, we still have those supply side concerns?
Supply side's concern, yes, Abha, and along with that, what is the outcome of OPEC Plus is also very, very important. And the demand globally for energy, that is crude oil, will also play a very important role. The data from the US looks to be a little bit on the lower side. That could be one of the reasons why you saw a little bit of bump up in terms of the crude oil prices. But more importantly, I think the recent run-up that we saw in a very short span of period of time in the crude oil prices was more because of the geopolitical situation, and that settles off, then I think you should see a little bit lower level. Of course, some of the commodity experts that I speak to were also targeting $100 a barrel, especially on the Brent. But now with the de-escalation, let's hope that crude doesn't go up north and settle down a little bit lower, so that we all can, breathe a sign of relief.
All right, Gaurang, thanks so much for joining us with that outlook on the markets, crude, and the huge bounce that we saw in trade today. IDBI Bank could be the next PSU bank to be privatized. Senior government sources have told Business Today TV that preliminary expression of interest for IDBI Bank could likely be called within 3 weeks from now. This comes in less than a week of LIC prospectus that was also filed with SEBI on Sunday evening. Karishma joins us with this story. Karishma, what details do we have on the stake sale? Is the government planning to offload its entire stake?
Well, right, Abha, the center is looking to come out with expression of interest for the much-awaited sale of IDBI, and this could likely come within 3 weeks from now, which will definitely be next month. LIC currently holds the management stake in IDBI Bank, which is about 49.24%, and the second majority partner, of course, is the government of India with 45.48%. Now, government is willing to offload its stake along with the LIC together as per sources, but yet there is no clarity that how much stake are they going to be offloading it. Is it going to be complete at one go, or is it going to be done as a partial activity? But sources also tell us that in case the process with the expression of interest goes on as per the planned timeline, then the government is looking to execute and complete this sale by next year, FY23 March. So that would put yet another bank on sale, and especially at a time like this, where, of course, the LIC IPO is yet to come, and LIC is the majority stakeholder and management controller in IDBI.
All right, thanks for that, Karishma. In a major move, the Securities and Exchange Board of India has said that listed companies can decide if they want to have separate roles for chairperson and managing director CEO. The move comes after only 54% of companies have complied with the SEBI directive to separate the roles. Chetan joining us for more on this. Chetan, quite a big decision, and why has SEBI gone for this decision?
You're absolutely right. Significant relief to top 500 listed entities. The capital market regulator has decided that the requirement for top 500 entities will be to separate the roles of chairperson and MD CEO would be done away from a mandatory basis to a voluntary basis. Well, SEBI had earlier asked listed companies to split these roles to improve corporate governance, because in June 2017, if you recall, the SEBI had in fact set up a committee under the chairmanship of Uday Kotak, and one of the recommendations of the committee was definitely to do away with this particular provision, because a lot of pressure was being mounted on the companies to mandatorily remove and separate these positions. So SEBI had earlier asked these companies to split the roles, but from April 1, 2022, but the compliance was only mere 54%, as you pointed out. Well, in times to come, yes, this is a huge relief for the companies, and to improve the corporate governance standards, this move was being done. But yes, for top 500 companies, it's a huge relief.
Chetan, thanks for joining us with all the details there. India's merchandise exports for Jan 2022 stood at $34.5 billion as compared to $27.5 billion in Jan 21. This exhibits a positive growth of 25.28% over 1 year. Similarly, imports in January 22 have registered a positive growth of 23.5% at $51.9 billion compared with the same time last year. The merchandise trade balance for January was estimated at $17.4 billion as against $14.4 billion in the previous year. That's a decline of 20.2%. And here's what else is making news in the corporate world. Supreme Court has permitted Future Retail to approach the Delhi High Court with its plea to resume NCLT's proceedings regarding approval for its 27,513 crore rupee transaction with Reliance. The order of the Apex Court came on a plea by Future Retail seeking to proceed with securing the NCLT's approval for its deal with Reliance Retail Ventures. Religare Enterprises has said that its NBFC arm, Religare Finvest Limited, has been a victim of fraud perpetuated by its former promoters and management. Religare Enterprises chairperson and RFL CMD, Dr. Rashmi Saluja, said that the company has challenged the process of classifying RFL as fraud account and initiated legal and corrective measures regarding the same. Pharma major Cipla's promoters Dr. Y.K. Hamid and Mr. M.K. Hamid have sold 2.5% stake in the company. Post this, the promoter group will continue to hold 34.23% in the company. In its filing, Cipla said the group remains fully committed and invested in the future of Cipla Limited. Kia Motors' much-awaited SUV Kia Carens launched in India today. The prices start at 8.9 lakh rupees. Kia Carens will be competing with Toyota Innova Krista, Hyundai Alcazar and Maruti Suzuki XL6. It's available in 6-seater and 7-seater configurations and has 3 drive modes: Eco, Normal and Sport. The Central Bureau of Investigation will soon summon promoters of ABG Shipyard for questioning in what's emerging as the biggest bank scam in India. According to CBI, it's located the accused in India and has issued a lookout circular for them.
There's a new alleged master scamster in town, beating these 3 poster boys by a huge margin. Rishi Kamlesh Agarwal is accused, along with his fellow directors, of engineering a massive 22,842 crore rupees scam, the largest ever in India. His company, ABG Shipyard, stands accused by the CBI of diverting funds, misappropriation and criminal breach of trust. CBI has now located the accused in India and has already issued lookout circulars for Agarwal, former Executive Director Santanam Muthuswamy and Directors Ashwini Kumar, Sushil Kumar Agarwal and Ravi Vimal Nevatia. The CBI had filed a case on 7th of February after a complaint by the State Bank of India, which is among the 28 banks and financial institutions who lent funds to ABG Shipyard. The bank with the biggest exposure is ICICI, which takes a hit of over 7,000 crore rupees. Other big lenders include IDBI Bank, the State Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, Punjab National Bank, and Indian Overseas Bank, and even the IPO-bound LIC. The CBI has already conducted searches at 13 locations of the accused, including offices and other premises of the company and its directors at Surat, Bharuch, Mumbai and Pune, among others. The agency said that it has recovered incriminating documents during the search. The directors, who are the main accused, are yet to be arrested. With Chetan Bhutani, Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Chetan Bhutani and Mr. Jayan Gupta joining us on this story. Mr. Gupta, thanks for being with us. Now, this case has raised so many questions, in terms of how this could happen, a fraud of this size, how it could go undetected. I want to get your perspective on really the the route, how deep it goes, and what perhaps are some of the options or steps that are ahead of the company now?
See, you got to look into this fraud into a totality and to the different parts. So one thing I would say that let us not take that all 22,000 odd crore is a fraudulent amount. You got to start from the beginning when the project was given and that the financial crisis happened and everything happened. So there would be certain element in the entire 22,500 which would have gone to fund the losses which would have arisen from the no business, the fixed expenses and something. The fraudulent amount will be only that amount which has been siphoned out. Now, we do not know what is the amount that has been siphoned out. But I will tell you what is the anatomy of a fraud, how the fraud happens. The fraud happens is very simply, you would have seen in the railway station, it is written, Savdhani hati nahi, durghatna ghati. So that means the moment you are not focused, you are off the tangent, then the problem happens. Now, in Indian banking system, the biggest problem is this, we never look into the cash flow part of it. We always look into the balance sheet, profit and loss and something, security and something. But nobody looks into where the money went and how it is coming back. What happens when you do not have a trace of the money going and coming back, then siphoning out starts happening. First day, I will attempt to siphon off 1% of the amount. When you don't detect me, I will do 5 rupees. When you don't detect, I will do something. So over a period of time, 100 rupees, the siphon out becomes 50%, 60% depending on what happens. That is the first part. The second part of the business is that in India, we have never believed in a surgical operation type of thing. That if something is wrong, you cut it. You cut your losses. As in the stock market, you say that if you are losing money, cut your losses. But in the banking system, the problem till the bankruptcy thing came, it was not that the decision was taken for the simple reason the person who takes the decision takes the hit. He is the person who will suffer. So everybody will want to postpone the decision making to the next guy. But ever since the NPA norms have become tough and the Reserve Bank is acting, so now it is no more possible for me to push it to the next person. Earlier, what used to happen if 22,000 crore is there and I put it in NPA, the 10% interest that was coming, 2,000 crore will not be coming. So the profitability that I was showing of 2,000 crore, I will not be able to show. So it was kept on doing something.
Mr. Gupta, this is Jayan Gupta from Business Today Television. Sir, you raised a very valid point with respect to how much amount has actually been siphoned off. But don't you think it raises a big question on the corporate governance standards of the company, considering it was once a very blue-eyed company of the country and had major contracts globally, especially from India? So what was really the need behind such a siphoning off? And if you mentioned about that 100 rupee example, but since ICICI Bank, SBI, IDBI were the three key lenders initially, and all of this happened, don't you think that the companies could have been corporate governed better?
I will start saying that beauty is skin deep. So in most of the cases, what you see and what is actual is not the fact. The corporate governance because if you print the balance sheet and annual report on the glossy paper, you have a superstar board, doesn't make the corporate governance good. That is one part. The second part, I say that today we are saying that how it happened with the ICICI Bank or State Bank or something. As I told you, the anatomy was this, that till 2016-17, when the bankruptcy was not there. And I would say, if I am permitted, in India, the biggest problem is our judicial system. In India, the scientists can discover corona vaccine in 6 months or 1 year, but our judicial system cannot decide, although they have got everything in the written down paper, every paper written in 10 years or 20 years, you can't decide the case. So till such time we come to a situation where you are giving the medicine when the disease is there. Problem happens when we give medicine when the post-mortem stage. That's the biggest problem. So I will say as of now, in present day context, such frauds are going to be very little or very less.
Okay.
Because things have changed,
All
the
right.
norms have changed. These are the history which we are carrying. But again, as I say, that things are not so good in our country as far as the judicial system is concerned.
Mr. Gupta, thanks so much for joining us and to giving us your expert insight into this fraud, the scale, and how really it took so long before it was discovered. We're going to stay on top of that story for you. That's all we have time for on the show tonight. We're also back with our flagship query show, Ask Udayan, to get your stock queries answered. Do remember to send them on the message number on your screen, and we'll have them answered for you every Wednesday.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.